To everyone around the world of every race, color, and creed, I have an announcement. The announcement being that due to YouTube censorship, I may not be able to use this channel anytime soon because of mass flagging and the super mods within this YouTube site. But that's not what I'm here to discuss, but that's the announcement. I'll probably be laying back on the video uploading for quite a while because I got a community strike because apparently reviewing the contents and putting that thing up as for people to see is apparently a violation of terms of service. But yeah, I see smaller channels and channels who have thousands of subscribers who are not journalists or news related channels doing it, and they're not getting community strikes and they're not getting taken down. But yet, why me? Well, because supermods target my channel and mass flagged it because each supermod is worth 1,000 people. But let's get to the real news. The real news is that the threat that precedes the world is not over. It's much more worse than what it seems. The threat that lingers within this world is much bigger than what anyone can ever understand. It's for this that we must understand that we're still in jeopardy as a species, that the North Korean crisis is not exactly over, but it won't be that flashpoint that probably ignites World War III. It'll probably be the whole Syrian crisis, the Syrian civil war, along with the Iranians, the Russians, the Turkish people, etc. It might be a double conflict between that three countries that ignite the world on fire. In fact, just a few hours ago, the Turkish referendum that passed just gave the president or the leader of Turkey the absolute power of a dictator, one could say. And it's probably long overdue that Turkey's no longer a republic. It never has been for the last since 2015. And after the failed military coup attempt in 2016, I think that pretty much eviscerated any chance of it ever being restored as a proper republic, so to speak. So, in my understanding, I'm assuming that Turkey's now beyond saving. It'll probably be them that ignite a world war because they have nukes, because they have chemical weapons, because the leader of Turkey wants to, quote, re-expand and recreate the Ottoman Empire. That means creating a neo-imperialistic expansionism of neo-colonialism fueled by mega corporations and the world banks in order to fuel their warmongering and their expansionism. Well, this is what's going to start a world war, not including but not limited to them extorting Europe. You see, the Turkey itself, the country Turkey, is extorting Europe, saying, quote, if you don't give me reparations, or if you don't pay a certain amount of money to me, I will, quote, send millions of economic illegal immigrants over your borders into Sweden and Germany, and threaten them with economic warfare as well as demographic warfare, cultural warfare, and that's going to cause some problems in Europe. That will probably start Europe on a path of civil war. The EU will eventually eviscerate within a certain amount of years, but if a civil war does break out in one of those European countries that's still within the European Union might instead strengthen its military and create a form of military of the nation states and take over those nation states and become a super state officially. Right now they're only unified through fraud and through trade agreements that were actually agreements to put countries into the EU without the people's consent. That's what's going to start a potential world war, so to speak, is if a country such as Sweden will probably go into a civil war within maybe a few years, depending on how much their population has had enough with their overall government corruption. Germany will go into a civil war, that much is for certain. It will not be the displacement of their population. It will be mainly the people within Germany, and it may be the region next to France. Um, can't exactly remember that province, but there's a province in Germany that's going to potentially have an uprising. And it won't be secession, because secession won't exactly be on the table, because Germany will move into a full-out police state. They already got a form of soft martial law in place, so to speak. This martial law has banned rallies, assemblies, freedom of speech, etc. A soft form of martial law. They arrest people in Germany who criticize the immigration refugee status of the state and the welfare of the state, etc. But if you criticize the immigration status within Germany, you get arrested. But it won't be Germany that will go out into a full-out civil war. But you also forget the history of Islam, etc. When the Muslims get into 5% of the population within a nation state or a country, they begin to take over. That's throughout the history for its own self speaks. The history of Islam. Islam is a imperialistic expansionism based war doctrine that's built upon warring, taking over, making populations submit, killing off the entire men populations, forcefully converting the children, and making overall the women their slaves. And that's why there are no blonde-haired, blue-eyed women or men or any people all the way up to Poland, all the way to France. That's how far Islam expanded into Europe. That pretty much states for its own self that Islam didn't mix with the local inhabitants that they took over. They slaughtered the men, raped the women, and forcefully converted the men to their religion during those times. That just shows how completely imperialistic and expansionist they were at the time. And this was during a time when the Crusaders were waging war with the pagans. If my history is right, they were waging war against the pagans within around Sweden, Finland, etc., while the Muslims were coming straight into Europe and practically nearly took it over because Christianity wasn't exactly unified in a sense. Well, if my history is right, Islam nearly did take over Europe, and they may end up taking over Europe for all we know. Just a few blocks down, I have a mosque that was just built and opened up in March 20th, 2017. We're already being colonized by Islam, but that's besides the point. Sorry for digressing. But as I was stating for this video, that the EU, if a crisis ever unfolds in Europe, it will not cripple the EU. In fact, it may have the exact opposite effect. The European Union may, in fact, become a superstate, not by unofficially, but by officially, by using the crisis to consolidate power, because they stated after the Brexit that they were going to unreveal their plan to have a national European Union military underneath their direct control. aka they seize control of the nation state's armed military, and it gets absorbed into the illegitimate European Union superstates bureaucracy, and that will probably consecrate their power. They'll be shrunk in terms of territory, but they'll still have the necessary retained power. By seizing control of all the European nation states' armed militaries, they may in fact use those to take over and unofficially but officially, through illegitimacy, no longer through fraud, take over and conquer all of Europe. And Britain may end up getting invaded by these people. In fact, they won't invade Britain because Britain's a stronghold, first off. Second off, that would immediately, people around in the entire Europe would revolt, and revolutions would start if they even made an attempt like that. But they'll wait until a crisis starts by these refugees and consolidate power. And it'll probably be Turkey that starts the world war that people are so afraid of. Besides China, China's going to have an economic failure within 5 to 10 years. Their currency is deflating and becoming worthless. they overextended through fraud, financial fraud, if I may add, and that's going to potentially crash their entire economy. But when that does, oh, God help us all. It's going to be bad, and with their currency now mixed up in our economies, etc., the entire world's going to go. And when they go under, then Europe will go under, and then the United States will eventually go under. Boom. There goes the world economy. But I'm assuming that the world war will not be in Europe again, or for that example, Asia. I don't even think Africa will be the starting flashpoint of a world war. I think South America will, because Brazil, Venezuela, and Argentina are collapsing right now. I think that will be where a world war will start, and proxy wars between the imperialistic American Empire, China, and Europe, and so to speak, Russia. I think that will be where the world war will probably be raged in, not in the form of nuclear war, weapons or nuclear war for that matter, but rather a proxy war, because we forget that the Cold War was actually World War III, Pentagon states, so it would be a form of World War IV in those matters, but it would be mainly fought in the form of proxy wars instead of skirmishes between two superpowers. It will be between the Asian Union, the European Union, and the United States, and Russia, for those matters, that will have a proxy war to who will dominate the entire North America and South America, and the entire Americas, and who will control it and become the dominant power within the world as we know it. Certainly that will be the flashpoint that will ignite a world war, but it will probably be in South America when those three countries go under, and will be a war of proxy wars. Basically, where countries will compete for the vast territories to weaken one another. It will be a game of chess to who can weaken the nation states, the what do you call it, the superpowers, United States, China, and Russia, and the EU. It will be a battle for major powers and major players, and to who will succeed and dominate South America and weaken the entire nation, superpowers around the world, will have yet to be seen, but that will probably be where World War III, World War IV, for that very thought, will start. But either that or Turkey will ignite a world war, because the dictatorial powers that their president was given, and the fact that Turkey is no longer a republic, it hasn't been for quite a while, for a few years as we have seen, and the failed coup d'etat is pretty much eviscerated any chance of them ever having a republic, of ever restoring their republic for those matters. So Turkey's pretty much almost lost. Venezuela has become a full-out totalitarian state. The president has stripped the National Assembly of their power through the illegitimate courts appointed by Nicolai, and the people down there are protesting. If Venezuela goes into civil war or revolution for that matter, Brazil will get, no, Argentina will collapse along with that, and then Brazil will get sucked into that, and that will start an entire continental war skirmish. And Chile will probably get knocked out. That will probably be the one out of three capitalist countries that's practically left in the Americas, so to speak. Chile, the United States, and Canada, the last three capitalistic nations on this planet. Well, countries, actually, to be more precise. But that will probably bring about a world war. Either that or Turkey will be the one that will start a world war, because they're the ones who are a state-sponsored form of terrorism. They're a state-sponsored rogue country. And that pretty much is assured. And we got a power-hungry leader who wants to become pretty much a dictator in his own sense, and wants to, quote, restore the Ottoman Empire, which that will start a potential world war. And Iran will probably be a flashpoint for all we know. Iran and Turkey and Saudi Arabia have very sour relations. so to speak, in the matter of being different, separate religions, Sunni and Shiite, etc. But it's much more than that. Those are the three main players in the Middle East. And odds are it may come down to it. To who will win? It's up. I don't know. Russia will back Iran. The EU will back Turkey, and the United States will back Saudi Arabia. So again, it will potentially be between those three players that start a world war in the Middle East. But that's pretty much has yet to be seen. So either that or Turkey will start a world war with the whole EU, extorting the EU and trying to dictate EU and the revolution break out in the EU, and that starts a world war between them and Turkey because Turkey wants to expand to Greece and retake their territory and rebuild the Ottoman Empire, so to speak, or it will be mainly South America. But that's the end of my analysis. So